So you're thinking about moving to Irvine, California? Well, I'm going to share a couple things that may make you think twice about it. In this video, I'm going to give you reasons why you may avoid wanting to move to Irvine, California unless you can handle these 10 negatives. All right, stay tuned. What is going on? Welcome to the Living in Irvine, California channel. My name is Abiera. I'm a local realtor here. And if you're new to the channel and you want to learn all about what it's like to live here, to move here, and to raise your family here, then do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe. Tap the bell so you're notified every time I put out a new video. So I get questions all the time. Ron, what's it like to live in Irvine? What's it like to raise your 4 daughters there? What do you guys like to do for fun? What do you like and even what do you dislike? Well, I get excited when I get these questions because I absolutely enjoy being a guide, sharing my story and sharing my experience moving here. And that's why I started this channel. So if you have any thoughts about moving to Irvine or the surrounding areas, do me a favor, go ahead and contact us. Call, text, email. Our info is right here on the screen, and I look forward to having a conversation with you about your move to Irvine. So it took me a few years living here till I discovered what it is that I didn't like about certain things in Irvine, and I'm definitely going to share that with you guys. And not that I would probably have changed wanting to move here, but I definitely probably would have changed where I purchased my home, knowing what I know now. So I'm definitely going to share this with you guys, and hopefully it'll help you guys out on your journey. So in no particular order, these are going to be the 10 negatives that I realized living here in Irvine. Number 10 is Irvine is not a small town. So growing up here in Southern California, we'd come through Irvine, maybe 20, 30 years ago, and it was really just orange groves. We did know about the university here, but our idea of Irvine, it was definitely a small town. If that's something you're looking for, sort of that small town feel, maybe 1 high school, 2 high schools within the town, that's not how it is here in Irvine. In fact, our population is about actually over 300,000. So that's a fairly large city for most cities here in California. And there was a current thought going on that a lot of people are leaving California, which it is true. However, if you look at the graph here, Irvine actually experienced a pretty big jump in their growth. So on average, we've been about 3%, maybe 3 to 6% a year. During the pandemic, between 2020, 2021, we saw a jump of about 10% in our population. So what I like to tell folks is that for every property that went vacant and somebody was moving away, here in Irvine anyway, you're looking at a dozen to 2 dozen folks that would love to live in that home. So even though people are moving away, we really didn't feel that here in Irvine, especially during the pandemic. We actually saw that uptick in people moving here. So if you're looking for that small town feel, this is probably not going to be the place for you. Number 9 is going to be landscaping noise. So if you're going to live here in Irvine, there's probably an 80-90% chance you're going to be living in a community with an HOA. So out here, the HOA, they manage all of the landscaping. So they're in charge of maintenance of all the common areas. So depending on where you live, you're going to experience landscapers at least once a week. Where I currently live, I'm not joking, there's probably landscapers coming through our neighborhood, our street, at least 3 times a week. And I was trying to count. I know for sure Mondays and Thursdays, and then there's probably another day in there where landscapers are coming through. So in my particular situation, there's the HOA that handles all of the sub-HOA landscaping, which is the immediate landscaping around our property. Then there's the master HOA that handles all of the master HOA controlled landscaping areas, which happen to be right in front of my home. And another day, there could be tree trimmers. So during a typical week, there's probably going to be at least 3 times where people are coming through doing landscaping, and they've got the leaf blowers, which are pretty loud. And I know that it's loud when you notice the gentlemen that are working the systems. They all have ear protection because it gets pretty loud. So if you are, let's say, a day sleeper, you work at night, you sleep in late, or you work from home, these are all the reasons why you may pay attention to what's happening around your property and the noise could bother you. And in some cases, like myself, where I do a lot of video recording, my wife and kids do the same thing, that we pay attention to the noise. So if noise is going to be a problem for you, that's something you might want to try to avoid when moving out here. Number 8 is going to be firearm laws. Whew, so I know this is going to be a hot button for some of you out there. Having been in the military and having lived in the Midwest, having friends, family that live out there, I understand that having guns, firearms, is sort of a way of life in a lot of other places other than California. So if you're thinking about moving here, you have to understand that in order to have a firearm in California, for the most part, they have to be California compliant. So if you're out in the South or the Midwest and you've got a bunch of guns and you're planning on moving here, chances are the majority of them you will not be able to bring to California. They have to be California compliant. Out here, there are restrictions on handguns that you could purchase. We have a capacity limit on the capacity or number of rounds you're allowed to have per magazine. And when it comes to rifles, that's a whole nother story. There's certain restrictions on how you configure rifles to make them compliant here in California. So I'm not going to get into all the details. There are ways to have firearms here. I don't know all the rules. I know that there are some rules in place where if they're transferred between family members, there's a way to get certain type of firearms here, but definitely don't quote me on what you're allowed to bring here. What I will let you guys or refer you to is the DOJ's website. There you can find all the requirements for California compliant firearms. So definitely know that if you're coming from another state, it's a whole different world out here when it comes to firearms. Number 7, Irvine is both a conservative and a liberal area. So most people know that California is predominantly a blue state. According to the Secretary of State, all of the registered voters in the state of California, 47% are made up by Democratic Party and 24% the Republican side, and all the other parties are sprinkled throughout the state. So what a lot of people don't know is that in Orange County, we're pretty even when it comes to the Democratic and Republican registered voters, and that's according to ocvote.com. And for California, most people are leaning towards the liberal side. Just know that here in Orange County, we're about 50-50, kind of evenly spread out, and that's a good thing. So just keep that in mind when moving out here. Number 6 is you may have to street park. Now, after living here for a number of years is when I actually started to realize that, hey, now I'm street parking. So when I first moved here, I only had a couple cars, but I do have a large family, so we started to acquire more cars as the years went on. And of course, I ended up picking up my little weekend driver, a 1971 Volkswagen Super Beetle that I like to take out during the weekends. But as you drive through town, you'll start to notice that I'm gonna have to say about 60% or more of all of the properties here in Irvine don't have a driveway. So if you don't have a driveway and you have more than 2 cars, then you're gonna end up parking on street parking, which is fine. It's just something that I didn't realize. And of course, I kind of care about my cars and want to keep them undercover, especially that 71 Super Beetle, because it's air cooled and it's got vents to the engine. So I definitely don't want to get that wet. So I keep that in the garage, which means another car has to be parked out in the street. So definitely pay attention to that. If parking in the street is important to you, if you are going to move here, direct you towards having a property that does have a driveway. I know I'm looking forward to the day I can get a driveway again. Number 5 is your trash bins must be stored away. So again, I had talked about this before. If you're going to live here in Irvine, 90% chance you're going to be living in a community that has an HOA, and most HOAs require that your trash bins need to be stored away out of plain sight from the street. So if you don't have a backyard or a patio to put it in, then they're going to go into your garage. So either way, it's kind of one of those things you got to be ready to accept. If you have a small patio, you're going to have your trash cans there, which I'd prefer that over if you don't have a patio or a backyard, it's going to go into your garage. And I really didn't like that. I've had to deal with that for a number of years where I didn't have a patio. So just keep that in mind, that if you're going to end up storing trash cans or trash bins in your garages, make sure, you know, you have a chance to look for garages that have nice width on either side of the garage. And I usually say 12 to 18 inches on either side should be plenty of space to stick your trash bins. Or sometimes they've got storage towards the back of the garage. Sometimes they're longer than average size garages, so you'll have places to store your bins there. But it's something to deal with, you know, and be prepared for that when you move out here. Your trash bins have to be stored away. Number 4 is that there are some year-round schools here in Irvine. Now I know this is probably not going to apply to a whole lot of people, but it definitely applied to me. So it's something that I wish I knew, so I'm going to let you guys know that some of the schools are year-round. So how it affected me is before I moved here, I kind of knew where I wanted to be, a particular neighborhood which had a specific elementary school associated with it. And we were relocating from Las Vegas. School ended in mid to late June. We took a trip to Irvine, kind of identified where we wanted to live, visited the elementary school, and the first thing they told us is that school starts in 2 weeks. And that just blew us away, that holy crap, we've got to get our kids into school in 2 weeks. How do we go about doing that? The school officials let us know that you had to have a lease agreement or utility bills to show proof of residency. So that day we just ran and got an apartment, signed a lease, got the utilities on, came back and get our kids registered in school. But all of that happened so quickly because we weren't prepared. So I don't want that to happen to you guys. If you are thinking about moving to Irvine, avoid that headache of having to rush into anything, and figure out what schools you want to go to if they're the elementary age, and find out if they're year-round or not. And even if they're not, we're talking months, 2-3 months of planning before you even thinking about moving here, just to get all your ducks in a row. And one of them might be dealing with your school schedule. Number 3 is going to be taxes and Mello-Roos. Now, this is something I didn't realize until I got here about how expensive some of these can actually be. So for those of you that don't know, the Mello-Roos is an additional tax that gets paid back to the city. The builder or developer took out a bond to put in all the infrastructure when they developed a new community. They pass that cost onto the homeowners and it gets paid back. So that gets added onto your tax bill, and it's called a Mello-Roos. I didn't realize this until I moved here. So this predominantly will apply to sort of the newer communities. So it's not going to apply to everybody in Irvine, but predominantly the newer communities, you're going to have some type of Mello-Roos, which is going to add to your tax rate. So just to put some numbers behind that, on average, on the low end, you're going to be at $1,700 a year, but they can jump up well over $12,000 a year, depending on a lot of factors. The actual community, the size of the home, how new the home is. So there's different factors that'll play into how much that's going to be. So that's going to affect your affordability here, and probably your desire if you want to live in Irvine and a newer community, this extra fee you're going to take on. So my advice on this is, when you're planning, definitely keep your lender in the loop. Let them know that you're considering a newer community in Irvine and they've got to factor in that additional tax payment, and that could affect your budget. So pay attention to taxes and Mello-Roos. Number 2, housing is expensive here. Now, whether you're purchasing or renting, you're going to be at the high end of the spectrum. So looking at the graph here, the median sales price or value for properties in Irvine versus the county, Irvine's about 30% higher than the median value of a property here in Orange County. And then on the renting side, that's expensive too. So you're going to be lucky if you find a 2-bedroom under $3,000 a month. So of course, as you get a larger place, more bedrooms, the rent amount's definitely going to go higher. So definitely keep that in mind. And I have a graph here just to show you the median lease price throughout Orange County is it just crested $4,000, and in Irvine we're about $4,500. So we're looking at about a 10% difference in the rental market and a 30% difference in the resale market or owning a property. And number 1 is going to be toll roads. So it wasn't until I actually moved here when I realized how prevalent toll roads were. they're a great feature to have. They're definitely going to save you time, save you having to deal with traffic, and I found myself using them more often than I thought that I would. So if you're in Irvine and you're trying to get to, let's say, South County, Lake Forest, Mission Viejo, Rancho Santa Margarita, just deep south Orange County, there's a toll road that'll take you right down there. If I need to get to Las Vegas, what I do is I take the toll road to get up to the 91, to the 15, and I can make my way to Las Vegas. So the good news is that it's rather inexpensive. I'm gonna say it's anywhere between $1, $2 per trip to use the toll road, so that's not too bad. I will let you know to pay attention to the 73 freeway that connects down south even more, and that connects up to Irvine, and that's going to be $5 a trip. So if you end up using that thing round trip per day, that can get kind of pricey. And also the good news about the toll roads is that if you get the transponder, they work throughout Southern California. So if there's other parts of town, especially down towards LA, you can use that as sort of the expressway. You don't have to have a carpool status. You can use that as long as you have the transponder on certain parts of the freeway. But that's the good news about it, is it's good throughout most places in Southern California. There you have it. Those are my 10 negatives that you may have to deal with, that'll either cause you to avoid or maybe not moving to Irvine, California. So do me a favor, comment below, let me know if there's anything that I missed, anything else that you'd like to know a little bit more about on making your decision moving here in Irvine. And if you are local here, let me know also some of the things you may have discovered, and that way we can share it with people before they make their move out here to Irvine. So if you have any thoughts about moving to Irvine or the surrounding area, go ahead and do me a favor, contact us, call, text, email. Our info is right here on the screen, and I look forward to having a conversation with you about your move to Irvine. I want to thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you on the next one.